guys, it's Anissa. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am doing my part 2 of my Best of Beauty for 2021. If you did not see my last upload, I dedicated that video to my Best of Beauty on the high-end side of makeup. I will leave a little link to that video right up here, and it will also be down in the description box. That way you guys can check it out after you finish watching this video. I did not realize how much drugstore makeup I loved until I started pulling stuff. Make sure you grab a snack. This is definitely going to be a long one. Before we go any further, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. I post on this channel every 4 days, so you never have to miss me for too long. Let's just go ahead and get into it. I wanted to start by saying that the makeup on my face is using products that will be mentioned in this video. I wish I would have done that for my high-end side. If you want to know how I did this eyeshadow, I do have a tutorial on it on my TikTok. I will leave my TikTok page over here for you guys, that way you can check that out. In today's video, I'm going to mention everything in the order that I do my makeup. First, I always start with my brows, specifically with a brow pencil. I like to use a brow pencil to outline the brow, and then I like to use a pomade to fill it in. I'm gonna start by saying that all of these are dual-ended, meaning that they have a spoolie on one side and then the product on the other. e.l.f. Ultra Precise Brow Pencil, and I have this in the color Cool Brown. With brow pencils, I prefer something that is pigmented and blendable. All of the products that I'm going to mention have those characteristics, but some of them are more pigmented than they are blendable, more blendable than they are pigmented, or it's very even. So I would say that this product is like 60% pigmented, 40% blendable. This is the only brow product that I have repurchased in the past year. I'm very, very close to being done with this one. I only have that much product left. COVERGIRL Ultra Fine Brow Pencil, and I have this in the color Soft Brown. Usually I would prefer something that is more of a black brown espresso type of color. I really do not like straight up black because I feel like it is way too harsh. It makes the brows look so Sharpie-like. I would rather go lighter than darker. That's what the color looks like. So let me know what you guys think. Sometimes the names can be very deceiving on some of these products, but it's a nice dark color. 50-50 with blendability and pigmentation. Arches and Halos Micro Defining Brow Pencil, and I have this in the color Espresso. 40% pigment, 60% blendability. I would rather have something be more blendable than it is pigmented, because when it's super pigmented and not blendable, it's really hard to take the product away. And I found that if a product is more pigmented than it is blendable, you almost have to carve out your brows. That way they look a little bit more natural and can take away from some of that harsh pigmentation, which is a perfect lead because this product is definitely way more pigmented than it is blendable, but I love it. This is also a pretty brand new product. This is the JUVIA'S SCULPT Eye Shade Brow Pencil, and I have this in the color Ebony. When I first started using this, I really did not like it because it is so pigmented, but once you have the pigment down, you have to be careful because it's very hard to blend it out. If you're somebody that does your brows after your foundation, you're not going to like this because you have to spoolie through it so much that it's gonna actually take your foundation off. Versus if you're somebody like me who does your brows first, it's not going to hurt you to do this first. And I always carve my brows out anyways, so I found that I can make this product work. And it is a little bit more waxy, which I think is the reason that it's a little bit hard to blend out. I found the waxier a product is, the harder it is to blend out. You just have to make it work, and I don't mind making drugstore products work. My issue is when I pay like $25 for a brow pencil and I have to accommodate the product. To me, that is not acceptable. I usually do not actually put brow gel on my brows until the very end of makeup, but I want to go ahead and mention it now because I just feel like it makes the most sense. I only have one brow gel that I have ever used. I have been wanting to purchase some more as of recently, and at first I didn't know if I wanted to put this in the video because it's like, well, I don't know if I can say that I really like it because I don't have anything else to compare it to. But this is a product that I genuinely think I will repurchase even after the fact of trying other brow gels because it has all the characteristics that I look for in an ideal brow gel. JUVIA'S Eye Sculpt Eye Shade Brow Gel, and this is in the color Ebony. It has a very nice amount of pigmentation, number one. Number two, when I put it on my brows, it almost kind of accentuates my brow hairs and makes my brows look even more lifelike. When I use this, I know that my brows are not going to move all day. Going back to the JUVIA'S Brow Pencil, one of the reasons I love that product so much is because one day I was actually getting ready to film a TikTok and I had done my brows, I had carved them out, I was getting ready to do my eyeshadow, and I got sidetracked and I actually forgot that I had my brows on my face when I went to bed, and my eyebrows looked exactly the same when I woke up. That product definitely to me has a lot of longevity considering that I slept in the brow products for 8 hours and they looked exactly the same. Next is brow pomade. I will outline my brows with my pencil and then I will go in with a brow pomade and kind of fill in more so the tail of my brow. I like to keep keep the front a little bit more sparse. That way it looks a little bit more feathered and ombre. For a brow pomade, I like something that is definitely a little bit more creamy in texture and is pigmented. I used the Arches and Halos brow pencil on my brows today. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the brow pomade that I used today. Arches and Halos Luxury Brow Pomade, and this is in the color dark brown. They do actually make this in an espresso color, but I actually honestly really like this color. The reason that I got the dark brown is because they were sold out of the espresso, especially with my pomade. I do not like something that is super dark. The darker it is, the less lifelike your brows are going to look. Morphe Brow Cream, and I have this in the color Chocolate Mousse. Open this up for you guys, and you can tell that these are creamy because you can see the brush marks in the pan. Lastly, I have the e.l.f. Brow and Liner Cream, and this is in the color Espresso. Out of everything that I have, this is definitely the most creamiest. I don't know if it's because it's supposed to be like multifaceted as an eyeliner and a brow cream, but this is seriously like butter. If you guys watch my high-end video, I really prefer drugstore brow pomades because I feel like pomades are something that the drugstore does at a better price and better quality than the high-end side of things can do. After I apply my brow pomade, I like to go in and carve specifically the bottom of my brows out with a pot concealer. I carved the top of my brows out with whatever foundation I'm using that day. And I only have one pot concealer from the drugstore that I want to go ahead and mention to you guys today, and it's what I used. NYX Full Coverage Concealer in the color Caramel. For some reason, this has become significantly harder to find in the drugstore, especially over the past 2 years I found. I actually had to order this off of Amazon. So it's a little bit harder to get your hands on, but I'm telling you, this is so full coverage. It is a very, very thick consistency. It's almost so thick that when you apply it, you're like, okay, is this gonna blend out? But it does. I love something that is thicker for specifically the brows because you're dealing with hair. So you want to have a thicker product. That way it can really lay down those brow hairs and conceal them. I found I just don't get the same result with a liquid concealer. That's just my preference though. It does have a more soft matte, semi-matte finish. You don't even have to go over top of it and set it. Next we have eyeshadow primers, and I definitely have a lot that are going to get honorable mentions, but I'm gonna try to mention them in groups because some of them are very similar. Makeup Revolution Prime and Lock Eyeshadow Primer. This is bigger than most concealers that I own. Like, this is the standard concealer that I would buy. CoverGirl Lid Lockup Eyeshadow Primer. They are going to leave a little bit of coverage and they have a little bit of tack to them. The Makeup Revolution one has a little bit more coverage than the CoverGirl one, but the CoverGirl one is a little bit thicker in consistency. Then I'm gonna mention these two together because they are also very similar to one another. NYX Proof It Eyeshadow Primer. This is the very first eyeshadow primer they ever came out with. These are both very similar to me because they are colorless, but they are going to leave a little bit of tack. So these I would use if I'm doing just like a simple nude everyday type of eyeshadow look. I would use these with more colorful looks because they are going to add a little bit of coverage to the lids. Lastly, I'm going to mention these two together. If I want a like completely clean canvas, it looks like I just put foundation on my lids, these are the two that I use. NYX Eyeshadow Base, and this is just in the color Skin Tone. This has the exact same packaging as the concealer, but it has a white top on it. JUVIA'S Place Eye Prep Eye Prime Eye Primer, and this is in the color 2. This one is a little bit thicker in consistency than the JUVIA'S Place one because it does come in a pot formula, but these are both very, very full coverage. This one is going to leave a little bit more of a natural finish to the lid, while this one does dry down just a little bit to probably like a semi-matte. I would say that this one also has a little bit more tack because it doesn't necessarily dry down as much versus this one is going to be more of a smoothing effect. This JUVIA'S Place is very, very similar to the P. Louise base if you guys have ever tried that. So if you're looking for a more affordable option, well, I guess this really isn't much more affordable because the P. Louise bases are only 15 and I think this is around 12. But if you're looking for something else and you just want to change it up and you love the P. Louise base, I would try this. Today on my lid, I use the CoverGirl eyeshadow primer. I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes to talk about, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to categorize these. That way I can maybe make this a little bit more simple. First, I'm gonna go ahead and start with these smaller products that I have on the side because these are still in the eyeshadow category. All of these are e.l.f. liquid eyeshadows. Some of them are metallic, some of them are glitter. This first one I have in the color Mermaid Shimmy. This is more of a bluish greenish type of color. Next is Purple Rain. This is just a lavender purple type of color with glitter specks in it. Third color I have is Ocean Eyes. And this is just the prettiest royal blue color. Fourth, we have Copper Pop. This is just more of an everyday type of shade with some specks of glitter in it. It actually is more of a gold color. It's not looking super gold because I am darker, but if you're somebody that's lighter, it's going to be more of a gold color. 24 karat gold, and I believe that this is from the Retro Paradise line. This is just a beautiful yellowy gold. And lastly, I have Galaxy. The best way that I can describe this color is like a rustic silvery gold. I love using these as eyeshadow toppers. Some of them are more glitter heavy, some of them are just more shimmery. If you feel like your eyeshadow look, there's something missing, these are perfect to pop on like the center of the lid, on the inside of the lid. These are also from e.l.f. These are the bite-size eyeshadows, Cream and Sugar. Coconut Pumpkin Pie, which is one of my favorites for just a simple everyday look. Berry Bad. I just got this a couple days ago, so I haven't used it yet, but this is a Caillou. I also picked this one up a couple days ago because I realized I have like no green eyeshadow in my collection. So this is Hot Jalapeno. Lastly, this is from the Mint Milk collection, and this is just Chocolate Mint. e.l.f. has one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas, drugstore and high-end, super buttery shadows. They are super pigmented, very blendable, and I love these because they're so convenient. You can mix and match these and do so many different looks. These are great for travel because you can achieve one look with just one quad. I always recommend smaller palettes for people who get very overwhelmed very easily by even like a 15 to 24 shade eyeshadow palette, because that's a lot of options to create one look. So if you want something that's already kind of like pre-made for you and very easy, something that you can grab if you need like 5-minute makeup, these are awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and start with these two first. These are both e.l.f. eyeshadow palette. I wanted to go ahead and mention these two because the color stories are so unique. I have never seen another brand come up with anything like these two color stories. This first one I actually did a review on when I very first got it. This is from the e.l.f. Retro Paradise collection. What I love about both of these palettes is that they have very wearable colors in them with a few pops of color for people who want to like slowly get into color, or even if you want to do nude eyeshadow look with some blue on the waterline or some purple. Electric Mood eyeshadow palette. So again, very wearable shades with pops of color, which I think is awesome, whether you are somebody that has been doing makeup for years or you're somebody who is just now getting into makeup. I do have some of their other eyeshadow palettes, but I wanted to go ahead and mention these two because they are the ones that I gravitate towards the most. I Heart Revolution Coffee palette actually is a little bit more cool toned, but it's very neutral. One of the most pigmented eyeshadow formulas I have ever tried. I've only had this palette for a couple months and I constantly find myself reaching for it. LA Girl Hey Hey Vacay palette. It screams fall vibes, but it is also very, very neutral. And what I love about this is that you get shades in here that are glitter based, and then you also have some shimmer based shadows, and the pan sizes are huge. ColourPop California Love palette. This is supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona bronze palette, which was in my Best of Beauty for last year. Pressed glitter right here is what drew me to this palette. It is so gorgeous. These colors actually look a little bit different on the eyes than they do in the pan. I feel like they look a little bit darker on the eyes than they do in the pan. Lastly, I want to go ahead and just talk about this brand in general. I have 4 palettes right here from Profusion. For how affordable these are, they are so good. These formulas are comparable to a lot of high-end products that I've tried. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this one first because this is what I used on my eyes today. And you can find Profusion at Walmart. Moonstone palette, this has 42 shades in it. This color right here is the one that I have as my glitter topper. I was so nervous to try these because of how affordable it was. I was like, there's no way that it's gonna be that good. These pressed glitters down here are some of my favorites. I usually tend to not use glitter because it is a little bit more rough, but these are so smooth. I didn't even have to wet my brush to get the pigment that I have on my eyes right now. Probably the most blendable eyeshadows I have ever used, drugstore and high-end. I actually use this in my fall makeup tutorial. This is the Mattes palette, Mirage, which I love if you wanna do a more like pinky, rustic type of look. Colorful eyeshadow palette, and this is the Festival palette. And I kept saying that I was looking for a affordable, colorful eyeshadow palette for you guys. Besides e.l.f., these are so awesome. After I do eyeshadow, I do eyeliner if I want to. I wouldn't finish underneath my eyes, eyeshadow, pencils, and mascara until later. But again, I'm just gonna mention all the eye stuff together because it makes the most sense that way. I have to shout these out. I know it's technically a makeup tool, but these have changed my life this year more than anything. This is my favorite product that I have discovered all year. These are the e.l.f. Line and Define eye tapes. I literally cannot do eyeliner without these. It makes it so easy to get a nice crisp line and to make your wings even. You can also use these even if you're not doing eyeliner and you just want to do a more crisp eyeshadow look. You get 40 strips in here and they're $3 a piece. The strips are pretty long. What I do is I always cut them in half because then they last you twice as long. This is actually the first mascara that I ever used. This is the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black Mascara. I only use mascara on my bottom lashes. I have lash extensions on the top. I like something that is a smaller wand preferably and more lengthening. Really don't go for volume, something that's going to separate and lengthen. Love the wand on this. It is so easy to use. Bigger combs on it than what a normal mascara wand would, so it's actually able to grip the lashes and lengthen them and separate them. TikTok definitely made me buy. This is the Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect Mascara, and this is the green bottle. I have not tried the blue bottle. This is what I used on my eyes today. It is more of a comb shape. Very easy to use. The formula is not clumpy, which is something that I look for. I did not mention any mascaras in my high-end Best of Beauty, and I did not mention any high-end eyeliner because I have not found anything that I like more than this. I could use just this eyeliner for the rest of my life without trying anything else and be perfectly happy. Maybelline Hyper Easy Eyeliner. I don't know why I have never heard anybody talk about this. It is so user-friendly. I prefer a pen when it comes to eyeliner because I found when you have a wand and you have lash extensions, it is so messy. It does not matter how good the formula is. It is just such a messy product because the product gets lumped into your lashes. This is not a felt tip. It is actually a brush tip, but it is so super small. It's smaller, so it's easier to hold. And I found too with a pen that it's easier because you can get super close to the top of the product and be very precise with how you want your wing to look. I just have one eye pencil that I want to go ahead and mention. Milani Stay Put Eyeliner, and I have this in the color 2 Semi Sweet. It's actually retractable. I found out with eye pencils and lip pencils that are retractable, they tend to be a little bit more creamy than your standard pencil is. And what I love about this is that it has a little smudger on the end. I do prefer a dark brown eye pencil over a black because I feel like black is just a little bit too intense for me. So I love just lining this with my waterline. Rarely do I smoke it out, but if I want to, it's very easy with this product. Now it is time to get into complexion, which is my favorite part of makeup. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with primer waters. Milani Supercharged Revitalizing Facial Mist. I was actually surprised at how much I ended up liking this because it does have more of a citrusy, orangish type of scent, which is something that I usually stay away from. The scent is so light that it doesn't bother me and it does smell good. In general, I love primer mist because I think it is a great prep for primer and it makes your primer's job even easier and kind of gives your primer a nice base to go onto. e.l.f. Aqua Primer Mist, e.l.f. Oil Control Primer Mist, e.l.f. Hydrating Primer Mist. So I like these because they are not fragranced. They are very lightweight feeling, and honestly, the Hydrating Primer Mist and the Aqua Primer Mist are pretty much the same thing. When I know I'm gonna wear my makeup for a long time, I will go with the Oil Control Primer Mist. Next is primer, and I'm gonna break primer up into 2 separate categories. I'm going to do Hydrating Primer first, and then Pore Filling / Mattifying Primer, which is the order that I put my primer on in. NYX Bare With Me Hydrating Jelly Primer, and I love this because it is truly a jello type of texture. I've tried a lot of primers and products that claim to be jelly based, but this is truly like, it jiggles like jello. It is so lightweight, but it does its job. It leaves the skin feeling very supple. I like more jelly based type of hydrating primers because even skincare products, because I feel like they can actually absorb and go deeper into the skin versus a lotion kind of, to me, just sits on top of the skin and isn't able to do much. I could not mention this product because it is a dupe for one of my favorites. This is the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer. This is actually a dupe for the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. The only difference between the two is I feel like the Milk Makeup is a little bit tackier and it's a little bit thicker. This is also a new favorite. This is the Morphe 2 Total Softy Gel Moisturizer. This is the only lotion-based product that I like. It's not even lotion-based. It's a mixture of gel and lotion, but it is very, very lightweight and it comes with a pump. I feel like a hydrating primer should just be a lighter version of your moisturizer. I used to think that hydrating primers were useless because I was like, I already moisturize my skin. No, it makes a difference. Try it and you will see what I mean. Next is Pore Filling / Mattifying Primer, e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I do have the matte primer and the acne fighting primer. I do prefer the poreless though because I feel like it is pore filling and a little bit mattifying. And I'm actually surprised how much I've grown to love this. This is the only non-silicone based poreless primer that I like. It is a more lotion type of texture, but it's not a heavy lotion. Next, pore filler. This is not the stick version. This is just a mini. Your pores are gonna be gone. Like the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer is going to leave the skin semi-matte, but this is silicone based where this is not. I did not think I was going to like these primers as much as I did when I tried them. This is actually a hydrating primer. I forgot to mention it with the other ones. The Milani Chill Out Soothing Primer, Milani No Pore Zone Mattifying Primer. It is a silicone based primer, so I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like that. If it claims to be hydrating, it's just gonna clog my pores. No, it like almost turns from silicone to liquid, silicone to semi-liquid. It has the most cooling, soothing effect on the face. It is not heavy feeling whatsoever, and you do not need a lot. The Milani No Pore Zone is the closest thing that I have found to the Smashbox Photo Finish. They are pretty much identical. The Smashbox is just a little bit more lightweight than this one is. Next is foundation, and I do have another tool that I want to go ahead and mention because this is something that I use every single day. Morphe mixing plate, and it does come with a little spatula. I use this no matter what, whether I think I need to adjust my shade or not, because I don't have to put foundation on the back of my hand anymore. Most of the time I do have to use like tone adjusters or something, especially since COVID and I've had to buy pretty much all my makeup online. Sometimes the shade isn't perfect, so I have to mix and match, and this is awesome for that. Next is foundation, and I'm gonna go ahead and go from natural finish to the most matte finish. I do prefer something that is definitely medium to full coverage. Anywhere from natural to soft matte. I've really strayed away from the matte side of foundation because I've been using a lot more cream blushes and bronzers, and I found that most cream blushes and cream bronzers do not like matte foundation, because you think about it, a matte foundation goes from liquid to powder. So when you go to put cream products on top of that, most of the time it doesn't end well. Milani Green Queen Natural Finish Foundation, and I have the color 500 Natural Toffee. Very, very similar to the Rare Beauty foundation. This is going to be your skin but better. And this does come with a digital blue light filter, so it is going to protect your skin from blue light that comes in technology. I love this natural foundation because it is long wearing. I found a lot of natural foundations that I love that just don't have the longevity, which is why I used to always use only matte foundation, and it does come in a glass bottle with a pump. This is actually the very first natural finish foundation I ever used. This is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. I have the color 515 Copper. This is what I mean when I say a natural finish foundation that has long wear to it. Now, when I say long wear, I don't just mean it's not gonna rub off. When I say long wear, I mean it's going to last and still look good. It has medium to full coverage, and this has an awesome shade range as well. And this has SPF in it. This is the only foundation that I have ever had to repurchase. It's Total Control Pro Drop Foundation, and I have the color Cappuccino. This foundation is so thin, but it has such amazing coverage to it. Almost like a highly concentrated pigment. I love the fact that it comes with this dropper. This is more of a natural slash soft matte finish. This is what I have on my skin today. This is the Maybelline Superstay 24-Hour Full Coverage Foundation, and I have the color 356 Warm Coconut. As soon as you put this foundation on your face, all of your problems are gonna go away. Whether you use a sponge or whether you use a brush, you are going to get just as much coverage. It does dry down, and it does have a soft matte finish to it, but it still has a very skin-like look to it. It doesn't completely suck all the life out of your face, so your face isn't going to be completely matte. I feel like 5 years ago, if you wanted a full coverage foundation, you had to get something that was very cakey and heavy feeling, and this is not that. Let me say, this foundation right here is the most full coverage thing I have ever tried in my life. JUVIA'S Place I Am Magic Velvety Matte Foundation, and I have the color 340 Campaglia. This is the most matte foundation that I own, but it is also the most full coverage foundation that I own. And what I love about this foundation so much is it has the most impressive shade range. It comes in a squeezy tube. This is going to be a thicker formula, but a little goes a long way. You do not need a lot. I would recommend applying this with a brush because it is thicker. So if you use too much, it is gonna feel cakey, but with the right amount of product, this gives you a completely clean canvas that you can just start fresh with. Next is concealer, and I have a lot of drugstore concealers, but I'm gonna go ahead and mention a lot of these together because the formulas are very, very similar. e.l.f. Original 16-Hour Camo Concealer, and this is in the color Deep Olive. Hydrating Camo Concealer, and this is also in the color Deep Olive. This just has more of a satin finish. CoverGirl TRUBLEND Undercover Concealer, and I have this in the color T700 Caramel. L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear More Than Concealer, and I have the colors 410 and 415. These concealers are all going to be thick in consistency. They do not feel thick underneath the eyes, and they all have full coverage. The L'Oreal Infallible has a natural finish, and the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. Original Camo Concealer from e.l.f. and the CoverGirl have a little bit more of a matte finish. Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer, and I have this in the color 146 Tan. JUVIA'S Place I Am Magic Concealers, and these are in the colors 10 and 13. These formulas are going to be thinner than the ones that I just mentioned, but they still have full coverage. I absolutely love the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind because it has such a unique applicator. I remember like 5 years ago when they did not make darker colors in this, and I wanted to try it so bad just because of the applicator on it. It makes it so easy to blend out. It is a dofa, but it's like a big sponge. And again, the Juvia's Place comes in an awesome shade range. Morphe Fluidity Full Coverage Concealer, and I have this in the color C3.55. I remember a time where I literally could not put this down because of how much I loved it. Consistency wise, I would say this is in between the two categories that I just talked about. It's not super thick, but it's also not super thin. I actually think that this has a better shade range than the Juvia's Place. So if you're looking for something that's full coverage, you're gonna love this. This is technically not a concealer, but I wanna go ahead and put it in that category. MILANI Supercharged Eye Brightener, and I have this in the color 130 Deep Peach. If I feel like my under eye is not brightened enough and I have concealer on and I have the coverage that I want, I will go ahead and add this because it just adds a little bit of brightness underneath the eyes. It's very lightweight. I do prefer a concealer that is full coverage. I really will not even do medium coverage concealers because I want underneath my eyes to look like I have gotten 100 hours of sleep. I don't want to have to build up concealer. And the reason I don't really like to build up concealer is because the under eye area is so sensitive and I have lots of fine lines underneath my eyes. So it's very easy for products to look very cakey. Say I have to build up this medium coverage, medium to full coverage concealer. Then I put powder on top of it. It looks cakey and a hot mess. Some powders do prefer a natural finish concealer over a matte finish concealer because a matte finish concealer, like a liquid foundation, is going to go from liquid to matte. So when you go to set that with powder, sometimes underneath the eyes, especially if you have a lot of texture and fine lines like me underneath the eyes, it can look a little weird. Now we're gonna go ahead and hop straight into loose setting powders. I do not have a translucent powder from the drugstore. All of these have color. So if you guys want some good CoverGirl friendly, no flashback, filtering translucent powders, go ahead and check out the high-end version of this video. First, I have the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder, and this is in the color medium beige. e.l.f. Matte Setting Powder, and this is in the color medium beige as well. This matte one is what I have underneath my eyes, and then I use the L'Oreal Infallible Concealers underneath my eyes as well today. I like to use the Halo Glow Setting Powder with more matte finish concealers because it doesn't make them look super dry. And also this Halo Glow Setting Powder, it's so hard to describe because it doesn't actually have physical specks of glitter in it, but it makes the underneath the eyes look just so healthy. It's going to do smoothing and filtering. These do both have a little bit of coverage to them as well because they are colored. Juvia's Place I Am Magic loose setting powders, and I have the colors Gobi and Namib. High-end and drugstore, these powders have the most coverage than anything I have tried. It's so smoothing and finely milled that it just melts into the skin. Next is pressed powders. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the one that I used on my face today. e.l.f. pressed powder. I have this in the color medium dark. It is going to add a little bit of coverage to the skin, but it's also going to do a very good job at smoothing. The only downside to this product is that it literally only comes in like 2 or 3 shades, but I did still want to mention it because if you can find your shade in this, I think that you would really enjoy this product. This is also very similar to the e.l.f. powder in my opinion. This is the Neutrogena Skin Clearing Mineral Powder in the color Honey 85, and this does actually have salicylic acid in it. If you're somebody that struggles with acne, you're really gonna like this product. These are very similar. The shade range isn't awesome on this, but it is better than the e.l.f. This has actually been my holy grail as of recently. This is the NYX Mattifying Powder in the color Mocha. Not only is it a good finishing powder, but it is a good touch-up powder, and I have not found a lot of good touch-up powders that have coverage. Most of the time, I will just use a translucent powder to touch up because most pressed powders and finishing powders that I've tried to touch up with just add cakiness to the skin. This is not going to do that at all. I have been loving this product. I've barely had it and I've already put a dent in it. I use powder foundation and liquid foundation, but if you're somebody that just likes powder foundation and you want something that's full coverage, this is what you want to use. Maybelline Superstay 16-Hour Full Coverage Powder Foundation. I have this in the color 355 Coconut. I actually emptied this out, so this is a new one. I will use medium coverage foundations because of products like this to where I can achieve that full coverage with a powder foundation. If I'm using a medium coverage foundation and I still have some of my imperfections peeking through, this is what I will use. These are also very similar to the Maybelline Superstay. These are the Beauty Creations powder foundations. I have the colors 14 and 16. These are actually cheaper than the Maybelline. These are $10 a piece. You do have to order them online, but the shade range on these is decent. Video dedicated to these, so if you want to see them in action, go ahead and check that out. Not only does it have full coverage, but it does such a good job at blurring. If you want maximum coverage ever with a powder foundation, use a powder puff. Lastly, this is technically not a powder foundation, but it is a pressed powder that I want to go ahead and mention to you guys. Essence Brighten Up. Love this banana powder. I'm afraid to use this because of how light it is. But again, if I feel like my under eyes are just not bright enough and they're not highlighted enough, I will go ahead and use this on top of my loose powder. I haven't tried using this right after concealer. I always use this as like a topper over my loose powder, but this just gives the most subtle, natural highlight underneath the eyes. And I actually prefer to apply this with a wet beauty sponge. Next is cheek products. So I'm gonna go ahead and do bronzer, blush, highlighter. That's the order that I do. Funny enough, in my high-end version of this video, I only mentioned cream bronzers because I do actually prefer cream bronzer over powder, but this is one of the only powder bronzers that I found and actually like. JUVIA'S Placed Bronze Bronzer Duo, and I have this in the color Deep Dark. So funny enough, I actually do not use this color here on the end because I think it is just a little bit too purpley, but this color right here is so amazing for warming up the skin. It is not a patchy formula at all. It is very easy to blend out and build up. It is $18, but I would pay $18 for this shade again over and over. It is so hard to find bronzers that I like because they're just too patchy or they're too pigmented, and then they're not easy to blend out, and they're just not beginner user friendly, and this is. This comes in 4 different duos. Next is blush, and I'm gonna go ahead and do my cream blushes first. I rank these very closely to some of my high-end formulas. MILANI Cheek Kiss cream blushes. This is in the color Nude Kiss. This is in the color Merlot Moment. These are the only cream blushes from the drugstore that I have found that will not pull your makeup off from underneath. They actually are more of a natural finish. These are pigmented, so I do like to build them up, but if you ever put too much on, it's okay. Just go ahead and go in with a wet beauty sponge, and they're very easy to diffuse. Those are the only creams I have. So next I will go ahead and do palette, e.l.f. Powder Blush Palette, and this is in the color Dark. Love e.l.f.'s powder blush formula. For a long time, I lost hope because I had tried some of their blushes and they were really just too light for me. Just take my brush in here, swirl it in here, and boom, you're good to go. But I love these palettes because they give you so many options. I'm very picky when it comes to palettes because I will not use a palette, and I will get rid of a palette if I'm not using majority of the shades in here. It looks like 2 of them have a sheen in them, and then the other 2 are matte, but the sheen is not going to be unnatural looking. Makeup Revolution Roxy Blush Palette. What I love about this is that if you are light or dark, you can use this palette. 4 colors up here are a little bit lighter versus these 4 colors down here are a little bit darker. But the reason that I love this is because these darker colors you can easily mix with these lighter colors and get use out of all the colors. And if you're lighter, you can easily use these lighter colors and then a little bit more of the darker colors and get use out of all of the shades. Neither one of these have a patchy formula. They're very easy to build up. This palette is going to be a little bit more pinky versus this one is a little bit more brown slash nudish. I'm gonna go ahead and mention this e.l.f. blush as well. e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush in the color Always Rosy. I also use this in my fall makeup tutorial, and this is one of the only blushes that I will use that doubles as a bronzer slash blush. It is more of a brown nude, which is something that I do prefer actually in blushes and in lipstick, and this is completely matte. This does not have shimmer in it. I want to go ahead and shout out this line in general. This is the NYX Sweet Cheeks matte powder blushes. I don't like the liquid ones. I found that they pull my makeup off from underneath. They come in so many colors, and to me that is so impressive for this to be a drugstore line. You will find something that you like. I have the colors Bang Bang and Risky Business, and I actually mixed these 2 today, and it is what I have on my cheeks. I used to always say that I would never use blushes that had shimmer in them. These 2 right here have proven me wrong, and the reason that I love both of these is because they have shimmer, but it does not look like you have glitter on your face. It actually gives a very nice, pretty, radiant glow to the cheeks. Flower Beauty Flower Pots Powder Blush, and this is in the color Berrymore. It's the prettiest berry pink color. These are definitely more pigmented than the Flower Beauty blush. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, when you use these, tread carefully. They are so pigmented. Like you barely have to dip your brush in there. Baked blushes, and this is in the color Warm Berry. This is in the color Brick House. I love these 2 because they bring life back to the face, especially after you've worked with a clean canvas. So you know when you add your bronzer and your blush and your highlighter, you're adding dimension back into the face. When your cheeks hit the light, it's just the most subtle glow. Next I have highlighter, Milani Highlighter Duo, and this is supposed to be a cream and powder duo. This is supposed to be the cream, but it's not actually a creamy formula. It's just more buttery. I have this in the color 140 Double Shot. For highlighters, I do not like anything that's really glitter heavy. I like more of a sheen, something that is more golden because I am a little bit darker. When I hit the light give me a little bit of a nice glow. I love this so much that I have it in 2 colors. Maybelline Master Chrome highlighters. This is in the color 200 Molten Topaz. This one is in the color 100 Molten Gold. The color Molten Gold is actually a dupe for the Becca highlighter in the color Champagne Pop. Molten Gold color is a dupe for the Becca highlighter in the color Topaz. This is the lightest highlight that I have, Wet n Wild highlighter. I'm just gonna kind of name these because I like them all for the same reason and I don't want to be super repetitive. e.l.f. These are the baked highlighters and this is in the color Apricot Glow. I use this in my fall makeup tutorial. Point out with this product though, the baked highlighters from e.l.f. are the only highlighters that I like from them. All the other different kind of highlighters are not pigmented enough. They are very chunky and glitter heavy. They have like a nice film on them, but then once you break that film and use the top of the product, once you get lower and lower, it's not good. All we have left is lips and setting spray. I only have one lip balm that I like, e.l.f. Ride or Die Lip Balm in the scent Mighty Mint. This is a dupe for the GlossierLipBalm.com. The only difference is that this is actually a little bit thicker. Your lips are going to feel moisturized after you use this and it's very long lasting. For lipsticks, I have 3 that I wanna go ahead and mention. Juvia's Place lipstick, and this is in the color Me. It is a matte lipstick, but it is such a buttery, creamy formula. It is not drying on the lips. This is what the color looks like. It's actually what I have on my lips today. Milani Color Statement lipstick, and this is in the color Teddy Bear, a more natural sheen finish to it. I do like for lipstick, I prefer something that is nude and more on the brown side of things, in between a natural sheen and matte unique component. This is the e.l.f. lipstick, and I know that this is in the color Cedar, and this is what the color looks like. I have 2 lip glosses that I want to mention, Juvia's Place lip glosses, and I have these in the color Cis and Caramel Rose. Highly pigmented, but they're not sticky feeling. This top one is Cis, and then the bottom one is Caramel Rose. These are a cult favorite. These are the NYX Butter Glosses, and I have these in the color Ginger Snap and Bit of Honey. NYX Slide On Glide On lip pencils. I only like the Slide On Glide On pencils from NYX. I found that the other lip pencil formulas are just way too drying. These are very creamy and pigmented. ColourPop lippy pencils, and I have these in the color BFF2 and BFF3. BFF2 is going to be a little bit more pink, where BFF3 is like a very nice, just brown lip liner. In the NYX lip liners, I have the color Beyond Nude, Urban Cafe, Need Me, and Intimidate Me. The Juvia's Place lip liners are what I have on my lips today. These are the Luxe lip liners. I have the color Cola, which is a very nice brown. It's right here on my lips. And then I have Scorpio and Brownie. Out of all these, the Juvia's Place is probably my favorite because it is retractable, so you don't have to sharpen it. I feel like when I sharpen any type of product, I'm just wasting so much. Lastly is setting spray, and I do want to go ahead and mention the NYX matte setting spray. I just ran out of it, so I do not have it, but it is a great dupe for the Urban Decay All Nighter. For another more long-lasting setting spray, this is the Milani Make It Last. I do not like the matte version of this setting spray that comes in the black bottle. It leaves little white dots on my face every single time, but this Milani Make It Last is so good at helping your makeup melt together, but also giving it that longevity. These two are very similar. I'm gonna go ahead and mention them together. Jumbo version of the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist, and this is what I used on my face today. This just does an awesome job at helping all of your cream products and powder products melt together and just become one functional unit. It comes in an aerosol can. The product distributes so beautifully and so nicely. NYX Bear With Me Set and Refresh Spray, very identical to the Morphe. The Morphe does have a little bit more of an alcohol scent, and I will actually also use this as a primer water. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. This is officially the conclusion of my Best of Beauty for 2021. If you guys would like to see my Best of Beauty for 2020, I will link that right up here, and I will also have a link in the description box. I'm so excited to see what 2022 has in store, not only for makeup, but also for me in general. I hope that you all had a blessed year and continue to have a blessed year as we enter 2022 together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.